Zoos and aquariums these days have gone to great lengths to house some of the most exotic animals in the world. But is that really enough for every animal out there? Here are 20 animals you won't see on your next visit to the zoo or aquarium.
Amazing!
Number 20. Indri. The humble Indri, a species of lemur, is a fascinating specimen with a face that looks like it heard an offensive joke. The animal is the largest living lemur native to Madagascar, but unfortunately its numbers have declined rapidly in the wild due to hunting and deforestation. Population estimates are inaccurate, though an estimated guess is anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 individuals still in the wild. The critically endangered critter has had no success in captivity either. Only one Indri specimen lived in captivity and only for a year, and we have not been able to successfully breed them there either. The Indri's unsuccessful attempts in captivity are mostly because of a complex diet of leaves eaten at different times that no one has figured out, and their extreme sensitivity to any environmental changes. Number 19. Blue whale. There's a stack of reasons why you won't find a blue whale in captivity, the obvious one being it's unethical. The blue whale has an average lifespan on par with humans, and being the size of the Titanic, businesses would need steady revenue for decades to supply its daily boatload of krill. Blue whales are also prone to traveling vast distances that an aquarium prison cell could not recreate, and even if that was possible, we still don't fully understand the animal's biology or needs to sustain its captivity. SeaWorld, famous for its orca shows, has received widespread criticism over the years for its mistreatment of captive killer whales. Yet blue whales are 3 times longer than orcas. Just imagine what a monumental task it would be to create a tank large enough. Number 18. Pink fairy armadillo. This small creature looks a lot like a Pokemon with its flexible dorsal shell, small eyes, and silky white fur. The conservation status of the pink fairy armadillo is uncertain as they're rarely seen. The population has been in decline due to predators such as dogs and cats and farming activities. Researchers found that the armadillo is highly subject to stress, which has made conservation efforts such as removing it from its natural habitat extremely difficult. In fact, there have only ever been 3 reports of successful captivity that lasted for about 30 months. Many died during the transportation process or only survive a few days in captivity. Number 17. Blob Fish. In 2013, this extremely rare deep-sea creature was voted the ugliest animal in the world. However, it only looks like a blob out of water. The blobfish really is a blob with no muscles and the inability to hunt. Scientists are perplexed as to how it eats, with some speculating it just sucks in whatever drifts by. The blobfish is currently endangered and close to extinction. While a possible key factor is because it's commonly caught in bottom trawling nets, it's also hard to imagine any of them wanting to mate with each other. No blobfish has ever been caught alive, and even if it was, it would need a tank with extremely high water pressure to keep it alive. You would have greater luck preserving a dead one, immersed in alcohol. Number 16. Dumbo Octopus. This unusual specimen got its name because of hypnotically flapping its ear like fins to propel themselves, similar to Disney's infamous Dumbo. Very little is known about the species since they're hard to find, with specimens only recently being studied as far back as 1990. The octopus has rarely been seen alive outside of its natural habitat. The deep-sea creature's environmental conditions are difficult to replicate, especially since they're accustomed to living at depths below 3,000 meters or deeper. Number 15. Pigbutworm. The pigbutworm, also known as the flying buttocks, is an antlered worm the size of a hazelnut and looks like a pig's butt. This species of marine worm is often found floating 1 kilometer below the ocean's surface. Scientists have never been able to identify any sexual organs when studying the worm. They're unsure if it's larva or an adult. Since we're unsure how they breed, the chances of seeing them in an aquarium is not likely, unfortunately. Number 14. Fangtooth. Fangtooths look something like from a horror movie, with their disproportionately large fang-like teeth, yet are completely harmless to humans. The fish cannot close their mouth completely, and scientists are unable to study the fangtooth's behavior or mating preferences, as they live in such extreme environments. The fangtooth has only managed to survive in captivity for a few months, as the high pressure needed for the deep-sea creature is difficult to replicate, and so it's not possible to see any of these alive. Number 13. Giraffe weevil. This unique insect gets its name for its enormously long neck, often used to fight for the opportunity to mate with a female. The species, native to Madagascar, was only discovered in 2008. With no known predators, the giraffe weevil isn't considered threatened or endangered. The reason we won't see one, however, is because they have a specialized diet that's hard to recreate. The giraffe weevil spends its entire life on a tree known as the giraffe beetle tree, feeding on the leaves of the tree and nothing else. Number 12. Sella. This animal was discovered in north-central Vietnam back in 1992, the first large mammal new to science in over 50 years. The actual size of the population is a mystery. The animal is so rare to find in the wild. In fact, trained scientists have never observed Sellas in the wild, so there's inadequate data. With little information about the dietary requirements and environmental habitat of the Sella, there's no chance of seeing one in captivity. Number 11. Javan Rhino. The Javan Rhino has had nothing but bad luck. The most threatened of the 5 rhino species, their numbers have been dwindling for years. The Javan Rhino once lived all over Northeast India and Southeast Asia. However, due to heavy poaching, deforestation, and other factors, there are only 58 to 68 individuals left. The last time this rhino was exhibited in a zoo was over a century ago. Unable to survive in captivity due to stress, such an endangered species would be at high risk if moved to a zoo, and the only way they're studied these days is through fecal samples and camera traps. Number 10. Northern Sportive Lemur. This species of lemur is declining dramatically in population because of habitat loss, from deforestation and illegal hunting. The critically endangered creature is also preyed on by the Malagasy tree boa, which hunts the lemurs while they sleep in tree holes. With so many threats, their estimated population is thought to be around a few hundred individuals. Captive breeding could greatly benefit in increasing numbers. However, their specialized diet of leaves have made attempts futile. Any known attempts of captivity failed on average within 1 week of capture. Number 9. Billfishes. Billfish is a collective term to categorize fish with a long, bony, spear-shaped bill or snout. The swordfish has the longest bill, about 1/3 of its body length. Billfish are high-strung and highly sensitive animals. Even the touch of a net or hand is enough to cause the fish to die from stress. Though the fish are commonly hunted for food, none have ever been able to survive more than a few days in captivity. Programs have been implemented to catch and release billfish for study, but even the process of catching them leaves them too traumatized to recover. Number 8. Swallows. These birds are highly adapted to aerial feeding. The only time they're not in the air is when they're mating or sleeping, just like humans. Swallows are amazing acrobats during flight, swooping, circling, and skimming along still waters to catch prey. The main reason why we don't see these magnificent specimens in the zoo is because they become highly stressed in any type of confinement, and they have to eat every 10 to 15 minutes. Number 7. Kakaako. The kakaako shares a lot of similarities with the extinct dodo, a small flightless bird often hunted by either humans or other predators. The critically endangered species population started declining after the arrival of humans to New Zealand in the 19th century and the predatory animals they brought with them. In 1990, there were only 50 birds left, but this has improved to 154 individuals thankfully. Surprisingly, the kakaako is the world's heaviest parrot and only flightless species. Because they can't really escape predators, the birds now live in semi-captivity on 2 separate islands, free of predators. Conservation efforts for the species are highly important, so the chances of seeing them in a zoo are not possible as this would affect recovery of their population. Number 6. Giant and colossal squid. Deep-sea animals such as a giant and colossal squid are unable to stay in captivity for a number of reasons. Aside from the large space required to swim around, squids tend to jet for a sudden burst of acceleration, which poses a problem if they hit the glass. Squids also have delicate skin that abrades very easily, not nearly as sturdy as fish scales. Theoretically, they would need a huge, cylindrical tank that's not transparent so they don't hit a wall, which kinda defeats the purpose of seeing one in an aquarium. The tank would also have to be highly pressurized because they live in the deep sea, adding to the complications. Finally, they're very rare, which is why we've never been able to secure a giant or colossal squid alive in captivity. Number 5. Mountain gorillas. If you've ever seen the award-winning movie Gorillas in the Mist, then you're probably accustomed to the plight of mountain gorillas. In the 60s and 70s, attempts were made to capture live gorillas to create a captive population. Many of the gorillas did not survive, however, with the reason why still remaining unclear. One theory is perhaps specific dietary needs or too much stress leading to death. Many gorillas currently held captive in zoos are actually lowland gorillas, which are able to flourish in captivity. This subspecies of gorilla are different to mountain gorillas because they're usually seen in trees, prefer a flatter habitat, and are smaller in size. Mountain gorillas tend to be more gray than brown, and their faces are covered in more hair. There's currently no mountain gorilla held in captivity, but there are tour operators in Rwanda, Uganda, and the DRC who allow a small number of tourists to visit their natural habitat. Number 4. Narwhal. Narwhals are like unicorns of the sea, with a huge protruding tusk coming out of its head. A group of narwhals are called a blessing, which is the opposite if held in captivity. Attempts to capturing narwhals have resulted in the animals dying within several months. In fact, all narwhals ever kept in captivity have died. 2 plausible reasons are that their long sensitive tusk poses an obstacle, and that an aquarium would not be enough space, causing distress in the animals. Number 3. Orfish. The orfish is the longest bony fish in the deep ocean, but regardless of its size, we don't know a great deal about them. Only one baby orfish was caught alive and taken into captivity, destined with a huge price tag in the marine aquarium industry. The orfish died roughly 10 hours later when it was being acclimated. On rare occasions that they're caught, the fish is usually dead before being transported to somewhere else. Number 2. Platypus. The platypus is one of the weirdest animals in existence, a semi-aquatic mammal that lays eggs and has a poisonous spur on its hind foot. Endemic to only Australia, it's one of the few species of venomous mammals in the world. Now, the platypus is definitely something you would want to see in the zoo, but why can't you? Unfortunately, there are no platypuses in captivity outside of Australia. 3 attempts were made to bring the animals to the Bronx Zoo in the US, with none living longer than 18 months. The species are difficult to breed in captivity. However, there have been some successes. Platypuses are vulnerable to the effects of pollution and don't acclimate well in unfamiliar territory, which could be the reasons why they're only based in Australia. Number 1. Great white shark. Although it would be an amazing spectacle in the aquarium, the great white shark just can't flourish in a tank. The longest surviving great white shark in captivity lasted a mere 16 days despite many different institutions trying to help. The great white shark is known for swimming hundreds of kilometers over the span of a few days. The lack of freedom and exercise in a tank affects their contentment and mood. The great white shark is just not accustomed to hanging around one area for long. They also refuse to be fed by humans, which caused them to die from starvation. Great white sharks are apex predators. They need the thrill of the hunt and can't survive on already dead fish. Which of these would you want to see if given the opportunity? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.